Hi folks, welcome to Pearceptive. I hope you're all well. Today I'm going to be talking about something that's quite close to my heart and at the perfect time, I guess, because I have just finished university and I feel like it would be a good exercise to, reflect over my last 4 years, give you guys a couple of anecdotes from my experience, and just perhaps kind of put a full stop at the end of my long 4 years. It took a lot longer to get to university than 4 years. But the last 4 years have been interesting, as I'll say. So I've created a couple of slides to make it a little bit easier to follow along. Boom, there we go. They're really rudimentary, but the idea is just so you can kind of follow along without having to rely on my stupid accent. Today I'm just going to be talking about my university experience. A couple of things like my background, academic experience, social experience, a couple of hardships that I faced, looking forward, and things that I've learned about myself during this experience. So yeah, I'll get wired in. So the background. I come from what would be classed as a lower socio-economic background. I come from quite a poor family. Both my parents are disabled, so throughout my upbringing, it's been quite difficult. We've had to survive on benefits because both my parents couldn't work, and which has unfortunately led to us having to be on food banks and stuff like that. During my teenage years, particularly, uh, it was quite rough. Just trying to get through it, but my parents persevered, tried to give me as much as I can, and I'm eternally grateful for that. Uh, I come from quite a strange place called Cumbernauld, which has got a massive blend of rich and poor folk and folk from lots of different backgrounds. So I have had some sort of life experience engaging with other people and stuff, which isn't too bad. Uh, I was pretty average in high school. I wouldn't say I was particularly brainy or whatever. I did have a kind of mixed interests. I tended to enjoy. It's police coming to arrest me for this terrible video. Uh, I tended to enjoy more like technical work, so working in craft and design or graphic communications, working with steel and wood and stuff like that. I've always had a passion for that. That's always been in the back burner in my mind. But I also had an interest in politics, and I had an interest in understanding the world around me. So I guess I didn't always have a focus. I was kind of divided amongst lots of different fields. But school was not too bad. From first to fifth year, I had 100% attendance. I never skied. I was relatively behaved. I was not too bad. I couldn't afford to not be behaved, to be fair. Excuse me. But overall, 6 year was really difficult for me. I went through a phase of depression and quite suicidal as well. That's a topic for another time. But yeah, it wasn't a good year for me, and as a result, my as a result, my results suffered. So I done 5 hires in fifth year, and I got two Bs and three Cs, which wasn't great. And in 6 year, I never attained anything. My attendance dropped down to like 28% or something like that. It was wild. But that meant that I couldn't get into university, so I had to go through a different avenue, which leads on to my other point. I went to college prior to going to university, and I tell you what, I've thoroughly enjoyed college. College was a great bridge to get into university. A lot of people, especially when I was in high school, a lot of people had a kind of negative experience or a negative perception of what college was. They always thought it was for people that were dropouts or people that couldn't quite get to university. But for me, it was the perfect bridge because a lot of people aren't ready for university straight out the gate. So having a place where you can go, which still allows you to learn about quite high concept things or about things that you specifically are interested in, It was perfect, and along the way in college, I made a good group of friends, and I still keep in touch with some of my lecturers. I went out with for a coffee, um, with one of them a wee while ago. I went out for drinks with another bunch. So overall, college was an incredible experience, and of course, it managed to get me to where I am now, which I'm going to be eternally grateful for as well. Uh, I did also mention in my intro, it's not really related, but I was in the Army Cadet Force for 5 years, I believe, which gave me such a unique experience and stuff. I come from quite a military background. My dad, my granddad, my great granddad, my great great granddad were all in the army, as well as some other miscellaneous family members. So we had a strong tradition for that. So I was always intrigued by the idea of joining the military. Um, so joining the ACF, it gave me a lot of skills that a lot of people don't really have, and I thoroughly enjoyed. I met incredible people there. I made incredible friends. I developed my love for shooting, target shooting, which was amazing. I almost got into the Commonwealth, which is a really interesting story. But yeah, that's probably also for another day. But yeah, overall, ACF helped to forge me into a whole new person, or a relatively unique person, which I'll always be grateful for as well. So when it comes to university, actually being there, I wanted to talk a little bit about my academic experience there. So overall, I would say it was a relatively positive experience. Like I was mentioning, I managed to prove myself to eventually get into University of Glasgow. Yes, it was a couple of years after most people in my year group at high school, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I thoroughly enjoyed college, so going through that avenue was incredible, and I would do it again. Over the 4 years, I've learned about such a broad array of stuff that I don't know. I don't want to go through every single subject, but from politics to sociology, even bits of psychology, all over. I thoroughly enjoyed that history as well. And some of these people that I've been taught by are world leading academics, so people that really know their stuff, which is always beneficial, especially when you're wanting to learn about a specific topic that you're interested in. Knowing, learning from the best of the best always helps. So yeah, most of the topics kind of expanded my interest into different fields and stuff. So I wasn't always interested in history that much, but through my politics and my sociology, I've really got right into my history. Different periods that you wouldn't think of. I love the Industrial Revolution as a period. I feel like that's so interesting, but going all the way back even to Aristotle and stuff like that. It's incredible. I won't bore the face off you as much. I can be a bit beige when it comes to that. But yeah, like I was kind of mentioning, politics, sociology, history, they were my kind of key subjects, my core subjects that I thoroughly enjoyed during university. And obviously, the skills I learned through engaging with different academics and stuff at my university improved my confidence, and overall it gave me the ability to go off and pursue my own interests. There's things like in my dissertation, I spoke about tenant union formation in Glasgow using a Marxist approach. But so many things that I'm so curious in it gave me the skills to go off and look at my own, think critically, and sift through different sources and stuff like that. So overall, that's a core thing of the academic experience, because academia isn't all about knowing. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Academia isn't always about knowing everything. It's about knowing where to look for knowledge, and you'll learn that early on. It's not about just knowing everything, because nobody can know everything. Some people might know more than others, but having the fundamental skills to go off, know places that are reliable, understand that sources can be subjective, even ones that appear objective. Statistics and such can always be subjective, and you know work that to your advantage, or sieve through the knowledge to find kind of more objective truths in society. At least that's pertaining to a humanities subject. It may be different for maths or something, where things are a wee bit more uh, binary. So yeah, don't get me wrong, the work was difficult, and I would say they graded quite harshly. Um, some pieces of work were harshly graded, I would say, compared to other. But it was kind of fluctuated, right? So some classes I would do really well in, other classes I wouldn't do as well in, although I was more confident about the other ones. And most of my critiques were the same, but the grade was substantially different. So I guess that's something to think about as well. At university, you almost have to cater towards who you're talking to and kind of figure that one out quite early. So that's something interesting, I guess. Um, Although it is important to note having all these difficulties when it comes to just the workload and also fear of getting a poor grade that allowed me to persevere and you know improve my standards. So now I can write a relatively decent essay or a policy brief or something along those lines. Uh, yeah, so it's good to have these hardships. It helps forge you into a better person. I also want to mention my dissertation. I've kind of already mentioned the title, but it was difficult. It was so difficult. Everyone I know who partook in doing a dissertation, which at my uni was almost mandatory. There was an exception in some cases, but yeah, overall it was difficult. But I tell you what, it was extremely rewarding because you get to pick your subject, you get to go off and do your own thing, and all your research is your own research. So you basically create your own piece of work that they can file off into the library, and someday one person will look at it and go, oh, that was really interesting. I want to build on their kind of work, and that's what academia is, right? So it's fair. I mean, I've also got to mention hiccups can happen and they're bound to. Uh, it happens sometimes. Mistakes happen, or you can't attend a tutorial, or you don't feel confident. But these things happen. Everybody goes through a period of a little bit of self doubt as well. So don't worry too much about having small hiccups. Overall, you're probably the broader academic experience will be more positive, I'd imagine, unless it's a subject that you deeply disdain. Then there's not much getting by that, is there? But yeah, I also want to talk a wee bit about my social experience at uni. Now, I've got to admit, for me, the social experience was quite weak, and after if I'm being honest, uh, university was always sold to me as not only a place where you can kind of expand your life opportunities, but it was also kind of an experience that you would go through. You would meet so many interesting people and have such a uniquely uni time. But for me, I never really got that. I didn't get to engage with the social aspect of university as much as I really wanted to. Um, I lived away from campus for my first year, and then I moved into Glasgow with my girlfriend. For the entirety, the rest of the time of my degree. But having missed out in the first year, I kind of had a knock on effect to where I was like, am I able to get involved as much? Um, so that was interesting as well. And obviously, living away from the campus made it difficult to properly get involved. Go to every society meeting or go hang out with the unis. You're like local and stuff like that. It wasn't nice, and you've seen a lot of people who did live together or were close by the time you even got into university. Well, by the time you started your first lectures and stuff like that, and it was almost intimidating. You felt like you didn't belong as much, and personally, that's how I felt. Uh, yeah, so I would say personally, I'm a relatively outgoing and extroverted person, not to blow my own whistle, but I do tend to be someone who enjoys talking and enjoys engaging with people and seeing people. I'm not introverted at all. Um, but over the course of uni, I did feel like I did make a few friends, a couple of friends I had made, but I felt like I made a lot more acquaintances, which I would have wanted to made into more friends, but just because of the situation, it was harder to do so. which is a shame. I really wish I could have got involved more. Uh, I wish I could have got engaged with some societies and unions. I chickened out of joining American football. I went to a Marxist Society meeting and I didn't like it. Um, yeah, there were so many opportunities, HEMA and stuff like that, things that I'm genuinely interested in the real world, which just seems so intimidating when it came to going to uni. And if I'm being honest, I did feel quite lonely at times. I did have my girlfriend and I did have my friends from work and stuff like that. But there has been times where I did feel rather isolated, and I don't know if that's because of the way I am, because I kind of needed that type of stuff. But yeah, it did feel quite lonely at times. I did feel like I was going through a path myself and not with other people. But reflecting on that, maybe I shouldn't have been so lonely. But of course, I can't change the past, so there's that. Um, I did get to meet incredible people and lectures, such interesting array of lectures and stuff like that. That I wish I got to see more often, especially some of the people. Close friends from when I started, friends that I made throughout, stuff like that. There was times where I really wanted to just go out and enjoy myself with them, but I couldn't. There was barriers in the way. So yeah, I wish I could change that. I guess, and not dedicating this part of myself to uni, the kind of social aspect, not being someone that was part of the uni experience, is probably my biggest regret of uni. I was warned back in high school. They were like, right, you've got to get stuck right in and make the most of it by a couple of teachers I was friendly with, but of course things happen, and it changes your experience. But it's of course it's good that I can identify this now. I know that I was perhaps a wee bit cautious when it came to engaging with the social aspect, and now that I know that I was like that at university, this experience has allowed me to know, well, I'm not going to make that mistake again, or at least I hope. So yeah, I feel like that was important to note. Hardship is good fun, right? So it was like a bloody roller coaster, So every year of my university experience, there was some form of disruption. Some were good and some were bad. My first year of university was spent hiding from the snow. The beast from the east came, or at least I think that was his name. So a lot of my classes in second semester were completely off. We just had to rely on the lecture slides and stuff online, which was wild. And I think every single year there was a lecturer strike or there was union strikes going on, which I mean it was for a noble cause, so we didn't matter, but it did impact aspects of my study. I didn't get to go to every single class I could have, which was a shame. I missed out on a lot of subjects that I could have maybe really enjoyed or took forward, which was a shame. Uh, I had a particularly hard time in a specific subject, which resulted in my overall grade dropping. So I done Quantitative Methods, which is like a mandatory course you have to do in third year, and I completely struggled with numbers, but I felt I would give it a bash because I feel like it would look good in my transcript, and it really sucked. I managed to do one half of my one assignment, and there was two specific assignments in the course, and I didn't even hand in the second assignment because I struggled with it so much working with data analysis and stuff, like specific software that I was definitely not comfortable with. Kind of plummeted my overall grade. I think I got like an F or something in it, which meant that my other grades, which were mostly B's and a couple of C's, uh, meant that it dropped it down. So really what I'm looking at now is I'm getting a 2-2, which isn't brilliant, but I've come to peace with it. I understand, and really it's the skills that I've learned that matters to me the most. And if I can still get a job using my degree, then it's fine. I didn't need to get the best grade possible. I just needed to get a decent grade, and I feel like I have. So that's okay. And of course, COVID has been absolutely horrific. So having no money and the loneliness and the blend between the two, it's been really difficult for someone like myself. And then trying to adapt to this online teaching, that was also challenging. Overall, it's been quite a hard experience, and especially because it's my final year, or it was my final year that I had to go through all that. it really kind of ruined the experience because I was finally ready to really embrace going out, seeing everybody, meeting up with new people, get one last hurrah, I guess, making the most of my university experience, and then this happened, so it was kind of rubbish. But such as, and I guess I've written a wee section on expectations versus reality. So it is what it is. University is what you make out of it, right? So I could have been more involved socially, but I wasn't. Academically, it's been rather rewarding. Uh, make your expectations your reality, right? So it is what it is. Make it how you want it to be. So if you want to have such an amazing social time, you go out and do that. If you want to get your keys in the books and really, really get involved in that regard, go for it. I put a point of note that I've mentioned before in a previous video, but always seek help if you need it. Like, no matter how minor it is, if you just need a quick extension on an essay, or financially you need a little pick me up, or your mental health is in decline, from minor to major, the university has to kind of be there for you. And I've written in the slides, the university operates like a business in some cases, so get your money's worth, I guess, is a way of looking at it. If you need help and if you want the best experience possible, you use the uni to the best of your advantage. It's not cheap. Oh God, terrible spelling over here. Lectures have a lot. Right, okay, yeah. So the lectures have a lot in common with the students, and it works quite well. So these lectures are also on like 0 hour contracts and stuff like that, or they don't have a contract, it's fixed term or short term. So a lot of these people are still relatively young, and if they're not, they've been through what you've been through for ages, and they're smart, they've got the interests you've got and stuff. So gelling with lectures isn't too difficult. It might seem intimidating if you see somebody that really knows their stuff, but they want you to pick their brain as much as you want to pick their brain, I guess. So take full advantage of that. There's lectures that I still keep in contact through with email, from first year, second year, one from third year, who I just message or email every once in a while just to see how they're getting on, but also if there's something that I find interesting, I'll send to them, and vice versa sometimes. So yeah, definitely. Lectures before you get to uni seem intimidating, but they're really not. They're just normal people, right? Don't be intimidated. Make full advantage. Take full advantage of them. No, that sounds bad. You know what I mean. Another thing an expectation that was definitely a reality was the place is riddled with rich and privately educated folk. Clearly have opportunities that you can never afford. There's been people who have asked me what I've done during the summer, and I was like, I just worked. And people that have been saying, yeah, I took a special internship, or I worked with the Sudanese government and stuff like that. Or no, it was the government in Jordan was a specific example. But yeah, these some people. It's a university, right? It's mostly been for the rich to get them ahead, and it's been a place for them to socialize with other rich kids, right? So keep that in mind. I mean, I've met people who I would say are quite well off, who are incredibly down to earth, and we've gelled with really well. But yeah, just be cautious of that. Think about what university is for you. Think about what it is for them, and then use everything to the best of your advantage. I've written here, just remember you've earned your place amongst these folk who have had every advantage ahead of you, so you should be proud, right? So you're in the same position they are in, but they've had all these resources that could have propelled them into anything, but they've ended up in the same spot as you. So never never think that you're not good enough in comparison. You're just as well off. You just maybe have to work a little bit harder, or it's a wee bit down to luck, to be honest, to see how things go. But try and leverage every position you can. So yeah, um, I guess a wee bit of self reflection. What I've learned about myself. So I guess I've learned a wee bit. I would say I'm incredibly resilient. The amount of adversity I've went through to get to this point has been wild. And having that particular trait is something that I'm I'm mostly proud of the fact that I can just get through things, whether it's like a really hard shift at work or you know, going from food banks to Russell Group University. There's a lot of things that I've had to work through, and I've managed it, whether it be internal or external. So I'm extremely proud of that particular aspect of my personality. Uh, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not really proud of this aspect. Definitely could have been more productive with my time. I'm a master of procrastination, but I've, I've I've learned to kind of, I've come to peace with that, and I've done things that have made it a lot easier to still be a lazy git, but do still get through what I need to get through. You know, I tend to be quite cautious, or overly cautious in most situations, and I always assume the worst when it comes to engaging with people or getting involved in a situation. I always kind of undermine myself a little bit, and that's something I've definitely needed to work on, and I am working on it. I'm developing that kind of, that confidence that comes along with not constantly being worried, you know, or anxious, I guess. Uh, my confidence is definitely growing. I feel like my voice matters and that I'm worth something. That was a particularly nice aspect of university, you know, engaging in seminars and tutorials. It's your time to speak and your time to really parse what you're going through, you know, what subjects you're talking about. And some people will react to that very well. Some people will argue. Most people will just sit and listen and quiet. Uh, but yeah, having that experience, my confidence has definitely grown. I do feel like I have a voice and that I should use it, and I feel like it's important for me to use it. So I'm going to be, I'm super happy with university for giving me that kind of added degree of confidence. It's given me the ability to set this up as well, right? Because if I never had confidence, then why would I be filming myself in my bedroom? Yeah, well, in my study, I guess. But yeah, and that also has been more of a familial or genetic trait, I guess. But I need to stop being so stubborn and seek help when I need it. I do tend to be quite prideful and not really want to seek help, and then that really leaves me in a worse position that I could have if I just asked for a small modicum of help at the beginning. So I need to work through that. Stop being so stubborn. I'm always offering myself to help other people, but I never accept help myself, and that's something that I definitely need to work on. But yeah, so looking forward, this is just a couple of things. I wrote my first point, but that's meant to be blank. I am terrified that this whole degree is going to be for nothing. Obviously, COVID and Brexit and stuff like that has made the job market a wee bit tight. So I'm worried I'm not going to be able to break free from my kind of poor background, and that is absolutely terrifying. You know, university was sold to me as like a ticket out, you know, and if that isn't the case, that's scary. I don't want to stay in the same position I had since I was a teenager. Um, so yeah, I've kept in touch with a couple of my lecturers and stuff, especially from college, and there is an opportunity of me maybe going into lecturing. It's a long shot, but it's a potential option. I've been talking to one of my old lecturers quite a lot about it, and he's helped me out in that regard. At least give me the keys, you know, to figure it out. Uh, Personally, when it comes to, you know, going back to uni, I think I'm finished with it at the moment, uh, which is fine. You know, I've been, since I left high school, I've been in some form of academia for 6 years, and it's been grand. Don't get me wrong, but I really feel like it's time to start something a little bit different, or move on a little bit. Don't get me wrong, I would love to go back when I'm a little bit older, a little bit more wiser, and maybe learn something that was slightly different than what I've already learned. But you know, I've got plenty of time for that. I'm only 24, so although that is quite old, so maybe not. The life expectancy in Glasgow isn't that good. You know, for me, the future can at times look a wee bit bleak, but that might just be me undermining myself or thinking of the worst. You know, overly worrying. But the idea is I'm going to try and leverage as much as I can uh, to my advantage, and that's the plan. So remember that, like, university is just one aspect of your life. You've got other aspects. You've got your work life. You've got your personal development. You've got your hobbies. So there's so much out there. You're not a single person. You aren't just a student when you're at uni. You're multiple things, and keep that in mind. Make sure you try and have a balanced life, I guess. So as I think my gran always says, "What's for you will no go by you." So always keep that in mind as well. Uh, you know, if you don't receive an opportunity, it's not that you missed the opportunity, it's just that you never got the opportunity, right? So there's no point worrying about that. If you try for an opportunity and you don't get it, you tried, what else could you have done? If you do get an opportunity, you know, yeehaw, well done. So pretty much, there's no point worrying twice, right? Just what's for you will no go by you. Thank you, Glenn. So yeah, overall, I would recommend uni, but there's things that I think probably could improve the experience for poorer people. It's still quite expensive to be a student. There's still a great gap between the richest and poorest students at university, and I feel like there's so many ways that you could maybe reduce that gap, or at least raise the poorest students up to the richest students level. Um, but yeah, maybe that's another topic. So yeah, thank you thank you for watching this. If you want to contact me or whatever, I've got a couple of new Instagrams and Twitter. I have a new Instagram and a new Twitter I've made. It's just JJW Partridge, for both. And if you've got any ideas for video suggestions, feel free to email me on jjwpartridge@gmail.com. Uh, so yeah, I kind of just I read that up. I had written that up this morning, and I kind of just wanted to get it over and done with, because I meant to make another video. Jesus Christ, it's 30 minutes long. Uh, but yeah, I feel like it's important to kind of reflect on these things, right? So, how many people do you get to talk to that really gets to break down what it was like to be at university? It's hard to kind of ask somebody that, especially if they've been out of university for a wee while. So while it's fresh, I felt like it would be good to let you guys know what my experience has been like. There's you know so much to it, but the topics I try to kind of categorize different experiences of it. So yeah, I hope it was kind of helpful. At least maybe if you're in a similar position, it'll help you kind of break it down into categories as well. Help you kind of pass through what your experience has been like, and I would love to hear as well about what your experience was like. Everybody's is going to be so different, right? But it'd be cool to kind of understand what university means to a lot of different people, and it's been great. It's been a brilliant opportunity. I'm so glad I managed to get through to doing it, and it's something that's going to be a fundamental part of me for the rest of my life. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm still going to be reading. There's going to be other things in my life that are also going to be important, but being someone that went to university is a personal achievement. My family, I'm the first person in my family to get to university, so there's that as well. And hopefully I can start a new tradition in my family once I start to build my own family eventually. So yeah, thanks again for watching. This has been Pearceptive. Peace.